Hi everybody, Kai Waza with you. Welcome back to my channel and to another edition of the Cheap Lounge, where we discuss cheap, inexpensive not budget label, but cheap, inexpensive records that I have uploaded onto my hobby station. It's called Moody Mood Music. That's going to be linked below, and you can check that out anytime you want to. Old school, easy listening music. Totally dead format. I love it, and I love keeping it alive. It's a lot of fun. Just a hobby for me. So I really have a lot to do today, and I can't seem to get this video recorded. This is like the 5th time or something I've started recording this video and stopped. I don't know. So I'm just going through. I'm going to go through. I'm getting ready to go on a trip, a long cruise, like a 20-day cruise. So I'm going to be gone. After this video, you will not hear or see from me for like 20-something days. Nothing's wrong. In fact, everything's great. I'm just disconnected and on a ship somewhere in the ocean, and I'll tell you all about it when I get back home sometime around like the 21st of November. In the meantime, let me leave you with a cheap lounge. I'm just going to go through these quickly because I have a lot of records and I kind of want to show them all quickly. These are all today, they're pretty much all records that have been discussed on one of 2 Facebook pages that I belong to recently. One being Vintage Vinyl Box Set Enthusiasts, and the other being Brand X Records, which discusses budget label recordings. More information on these records there, but I'm kind of bringing that to you here too. So let's check them out. First up, budget label recording. In the early 60s, the Bossa Nova swept everywhere. Girl from Ipanema was a huge hit. Everybody was started doing Bossa Nova records, and I mean everyone. And of course, the budget labels cashed in on that. This is a budget label Grand Prix series from 1963, Bossa Nova. It's simply called. It's interesting to note how many different budget labels made different recordings of Bossa Nova songs. And when they released their budget label recording, they all just called them Bossa Nova. Literally, they didn't say like Bossa Nova favorites or whatever, they just said Bossa Nova. This is by a bunch of artists that I think really are primarily sidemen, this one in particular. But it's really good, and I really like it. I'm surprised how many, I don't think I've heard a bad budget label Bossa Nova record, and I have quite a few, and this one's no exception. I really like it. Next up, another budget label, Winecoat Records. Now, I know I love my budget labels, easy listening records. A lot of them are crap. That's why I love them. But Winecoat, I always noticed, was different from some of the other budget label records because the budget labels are like this, sort of incestuous, and they exchanged or owned the rights to a bunch of the same recordings. So you can get budget label easy listening records, and a lot of times it's the same, 30 tracks by different, by the same, whoever they are, orchestras, and they just give them different names and different titles and mix them all up. But I always noticed Winecoat was a little bit different in their budget label orchestral recordings. It was a different orchestra. Turns out they actually contracted or had the rights to a bunch of easy listening records from the UK, some of which directed by Don Costa, who was well known in that field. But that's why they're different, because they are a different orchestra. Originally UK releases that Cameo Parkway is the parent company of Winecoat. That Cameo Parkway got the rights to somehow and issued them in the US as the International Pop Orchestra. I guess in the UK they were called the International Pop Orchestra / 110 Men. Sometimes on Winecoat you'll see them use the name International Pop Orchestra / 110 Musicians. But anyway, I love it. I always love the covers on these Winecoat ones too, because they're trying to be like so elegant. Notably, Unforgettable, the famous song, you know, Unforgettable, has quite a unique arrangement with some unique harmonies on this particular release. Here's one when I saw, my jaw kind of dropped when I saw this in the bin at Savers. Didn't know this record existed. Love it. It is actually a Mexican budget label called Coro. Sounds like Ray Conniff. We know the sound-alike records, right? In the 70s, whatever, 60s, where they did imitations of popular songs and they tried to sound like them, lifting their arrangements, some more successful than others. I've never seen one quite like this that was taking Ray Conniff, who was an easy listening artist. What's interesting here is this is 1972 reissue of, this was actually released in England first, and they did not credit an artist. On the Mexican release, they credit Los Sugars, but that's a fake name that they used for Coro Records used for their budget label, for their sound-alike records that they did. So there's no real group called Los Sugars, I don't think. And they certainly didn't do the Sounds Like Ray Conniff album. What's interesting about this record, though, is some of these songs were recorded by Ray Conniff, some were not. However, they did not lift the arrangements from the Ray Conniff records, which would have been typically what a sound-alike record would do. They didn't lift the arrangements at all. They had completely different arrangements, but they were typical Ray Conniff type arrangements. Who had a very identifiable sound. They could easily have been alternative arrangements that Ray Conniff would have done had he re-recorded it. It's the wordless chorus, very tightly synchronized, the kind of strong beat that most of his songs had. It absolutely sounds like Ray Conniff, but it's different arrangements of those songs. Kind of fascinating, and I'm loving it. I wish they'd done more, like sounds like Billy Vaughn with his twin saxophones, whatever. That would have been cool.
Hello there. Well, it wasn't long ago that my friend and I here were just hanging out in a dollar record bin in a thrift store. Ugh, it was absolutely dreadful. Our days were numbered, and we were getting ready to be taken to the trash heap. Oh, the terror, the disgrace, the shame. Fortunately, we were rescued by Mr. Kaiwaza, who not only purchased us, but cleaned us up, took us home, and is actually broadcasting us on Moody Mood Music, the absolutely wonderful, easy listening radio station that plays the most beautiful music rescued from thrift stores and dollar record bins. It's the old, the old elevator music, Muzak. Music you used to hear in the grocery store, at the J.C. Penney, the A&P, etc., etc. Anyway, you just have to tune in. It's so marvelous. Such a trip down memory road, and all of us records, we're just so happy. We're so happy that we were rescued and get a chance to be listened and enjoyed by thousands, or, 10 people around the world or something. It's wonderful. Please tune in to Moody Mood Music. The link is right below in the description box, and my friend and I will sing a lovely duet for you.
This one, is interesting, not just for itself, but the box set that it accompanied. This is Longines Symphonette. I'm not going to talk about them specifically because we have talked about them before, and I'm sure we will again. But they produced a lot of box sets in the 60s and 70s. And they also, in addition to the box sets, would do what they call like a preview album or also a bonus album. This was a bonus album. The song Is You. It came with their Ebb Tide box set. So it's like the same artist, and the idea was you ordered to check out the Ebb Tide box set. This came as a bonus record with it by the same artist, and if you didn't want to keep Ebb Tide box set, you could return it and you would get to keep the bonus record. Although if you didn't like it, I don't know why you would want to keep the bonus record, because it's the same artist. But anyway, what's interesting about this one, when I was listening to it, I thought, this is super lush. This is like way more lush. It has a distinctive sound that's not a Longines Symphony Orchestra sound. Sounds like somebody else. And turns out, after a little discussion, a little researching, whatever, it is. This and the accompanying Ebb Tide set, which I don't have. I do want to get the Ebb Tide set, but you know me, I'm budget bitch here, so it's got to come from a dollar bin or very, very cheap somewhere. And it will eventually. I will get it cheap. I do want it, but I'll wait for that. I was thinking when I listened to this, it sounds like somebody else, and through a little research and discussion, turns out it's Geoff Love, British, this black British composer, orchestra leader, arranger, etc. Did some pretty groovy stuff in the 60s and into the 70s, and also recorded under the name Mandingo, which is a whole other story, and also under the name Manuel and his Music of the Mountains, which I was kind of familiar with. I do have had some Manuel and his Music of the Mountains music. I have a Polynesian record, which is really beautiful. But turns out, as I was looking at the track listings and investigating more, in fact, yes, Ebb Tide, the whole, whatever it is, 5-record box set, and this that came with it, are in fact Geoff Love, Manuel Music and his Mountains. If you look at the track listings and go up and look up the Manuel releases, all of these songs are in fact Manuel and his Music of the Mountains. It's just they were never sold in the United States. They were only sold in the UK. So somehow Longines made that arrangement to use those recordings to release as Longines Symphonette and do the box set and do this accompanying bonus record. I love it. Super lush. It's extra lush, extra Latin-esque percussion, and also the wordless chorus, heavy use of wordless chorus. Really nice, very lush, very early 70s, late 60s, early 70s kind of, Latin-esque, easy listening music. Love it. I love the name Manuel and his Music of the Mountains. It's so funny, and you know how my mind works. So I'm thinking, if I was running a budget label and you wanted to have a cash-in group or an imitation group that kind of used that name sort of in their own way, I was just going through the alphabet because it's Manuel and his Music of the Mountains, so MMM. Like, what could you do through the alphabet? Fernando and his Fandango of the Fjords, or Carlos and his Calls of the Caverns, Rinaldo and his Reveries of the Riverside, Ishmael and his Idols of the Isthmus. You go through the whole alphabet. Love it. Okay, here's one. Well, you won't hear this one until Christmas on Moody Mood Music, but I include it because it was discussed, and it's very interesting. Muzak Corporation. We're not going to go into a whole discussion of the Muzak Corporation. Look it up if you don't know about it online. There's information about them. They're no longer functioning. I think think they're out. I think they're gone, completely bankrupt. But they started like in the 30s and went through till very recently under a different name more recently though. But they made background music. They made music literally to play in elevators, elevator music, because people used to be like scared going in elevators back in the day. Calming music, music for businesses. That's where this one comes in. From 1971, I think this record, yeah, 1971. Muzak Corporation, Christmas. This one is Stimulus Progression, number 3. Lots of information on the back about this one, the process and whatever. But it's interesting in that stimulus progression was an idea they researched, and the idea was that you would do music in 15-minute increments for business places where people were working, and you started out in that 15-minute increment slower and more string-based, and then progressively got a little bit more up-tempo with more brass or more woodwinds or things that were a little bit brighter. And then you'd have like a short pause and then start that 15-minute cycle over again. And that's how you ran your 8-hour tapes or whatever they made for the day. That it increased people's productivity. I don't know exactly why they made these record albums, because they did like electronic transmission, and they did tapes, as I said, really long, massive long tapes. They also did kind of like CDs at a certain point. When I used to work at a place that had Muzak, they were CDs that had like, 20 hours of music on it, but they weren't regular CDs. They wouldn't play on a CD player, but they looked like CDs. So I don't know why they did these records, whether it was just for promotional purposes, because I don't think any businesses actually played Muzak records. I don't know. But anyway, I don't know that story. This one is Stimulus Progression. So it starts out on each side. The songs are a little bit slower and more string based, and they build up to a faster tempo and more foreground, or more, a little more whatever, a little more brass, a little more woodwinds or something. So I don't know. Test it out and see if we play this record in the beginning and let it progress. If we're decorating our Christmas tree or we're wrapping presents, maybe we get faster and more efficient as we're going along because of the stimulus progression. I don't know. In the end, it's a nice instrumental Christmas record. Finally, today, this is a very interesting record. Another one I was quite surprised. I didn't know about it when I saw it in the bin. I was like, I had no idea this existed. And since then, there has been some discussion about it. So quite interesting. We might know, if you're familiar with easy listening, the name Snuff Garrett, actual name Tommy Garrett, who was a producer, etc., with Liberty Records, and was quite active. He also did some music of his own that he was sort of in charge of or producing. Most notably, I think, in the easy listening field, many of us would be familiar with the 50 Guitars of Tommy Garrett. Quite successful. He put out the first one, I think, in 61, and ended up doing many 50 Guitars of Tommy Garrett records until like the 70s or something. They are lovely, really nice. I don't think there was actually 50 guitars, but there was a bunch of guitars. It's a lot of guitars. Distinctive sound, was very successful, did all genres of easy listening music with them. But he tried an experiment in 1962. I didn't know, and I'd never seen it. And you have to wonder, it was ill-fated from the beginning. You know, the idea. 50 guitars is one thing, but this is 25 pianos. Play Evergreens of Broadway. Now, 1962 is this one, the 25 pianos of Tommy Garrett. That's a lot of pianos. I mean, twin pianos were kind of popular. Ferrante and Teicher and Ronnie Aldrich, and there were several sort of twin pianos was a sound. One piano coming out of each channel. I think sometimes some of those, there really was only one person and they just were going back and forth between channels. But anyway, that was a popular sound and easy listening. 25 pianos. Yeah, and he does say he kind of regretted it. Like it was a nightmare to record, literally like 25 pianos. And different kinds of pianos, honky tonk, baby grands, whatever. So they have different sounds. But if you can imagine this in your head, not really a great sound. And in fact, he says that, yeah, he regretted kind of doing it. Never did another one. He just did that one. And thought, oh, I'm going to do, you know, like the guitars. I'm going to do a bunch of 25 pianos. But it was like, no, listen to the first one, kind of put it away, haven't gone back and listened to it again. He was quoted as saying. So I did put selections onto Moody Mood Music because I think it's historically interesting, but it is a bit much, as you can imagine. They tried it, right? He wasn't really happy with it. That's it. I hope you enjoyed that. Leave some comments below if you have any of these records or interest in any of these or more information. It's always welcome. I love to hear the convo down in the comments. Check out Moody Mood Music. That'll be linked below. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And I'm going to see you guys when I get back from my trip. Sometime like after the 21st of November. So I hope you have a great rest of October, good Halloween, and month of November, and I will catch up with you guys when I get back. I'll definitely do a video. I don't know how much I'm going to record on this trip to do like a lot of video. It's a long trip and I'm really looking forward to it, but I don't know that I'm going to like video a lot or whatever. We'll see. But I'll definitely at least do a video like this when I get back, just sit down and talk and show some pictures. We'll chat. Okay. All right, we'll talk to you guys later.